play-based practices. Good morning, coaches. Today I want to talk a little bit about practice and session design and how when we think about play-based practices, it can lead to better transfer and more robust outcomes for what we see in practices and how that can lead into games. When we think about the game, first and foremost, there is an inherent connection between the four phases of the game. We have attack, attack to defense, defense, defense to attack, and attack. And those four phases are constantly in motion. In the game, we move from one to the other, and you can almost think about each of these being two sides of the same coin. That practice and that game, when we think about what the game looks like and how that is shaped with all of these components, it's hard to create a practice environment when we dismantle or isolate some of these, because there is less likelihood that is going to look like the game, and therefore it's less likely that it's going to transfer to the game. When we have players at practices, the more we can incorporate all four phases, the more likely we are going to see behaviors that will transfer from one to the other, because practice will then look like the game. Second, in terms of these four phases and how we shape our principle-based play, how we shape our habit-based play, we want to encourage players to be able to make decisions. In the game, players are constantly having to make decisions, and when we can think about what decisions we would like them to make, we want it to be just that, an autonomy decision-based, not a requirement. So whatever principles, whatever habits you are building in, are we asking players to make decisions, or are we asking them to follow instructions? The more decisions they can make, the more comfortable they will become making decisions, and the more generally successful they will be, as long as we are, shaping those decisions based on principles and the habits that are going to likely be successful. And last but not least, this kind of, it comes back to the whole idea of the four phases. It is reality based. In the game, there's always uncertainty. There's always unpredictability. There's going to be chaos. In volleyball, they talk about in-system play versus out-of-system play. We want players to be able to play in-system, but we also need players to be able to play out-of-system. When things go awry, when we're at sixes and sevens, which players are going to be the most likely to be successful? The ones who have been drilled in, this is how we want it to look, or the players who have been drilled in, hey, how can we handle various situations based on a principle-based play? The more we can incorporate play, decisions, and all the four phases into our practice sessions, the more likely those behaviors are going to transfer from practice to game, and the more likely they're going to be robust and stable, and the more likely players are going to be able to improvise and adapt to whatever situations they face. So, play-based practices. How can we encourage our sessions and our practices to look like the game to help players as they move from practice to game session? Cheers.